apply for this. So I'm going to extend that neckline to that point. I marked my 1.5, and that will be for my zipper allowance. I'll apply this on the entire length of this pattern. Okay, I'll apply it to the crotch area of this pattern or to the hip line. Now I've extended the 1.5 inches to my hip line. Next up, I'm going to be adding my crotch extension. For the back pattern, I'm going to add extra 2 inches or 2.5 to the crotch I marked earlier. Okay, so I've added that to this point, and that's it for my back crotch extension. So I'm going to now connect this point to the hip line. So I'll mark from that point to the bottom of my pant as well. And I'm also using the black pen just to differentiate between the front and the back. So basically that's the only difference between the front and the back pattern. So first let's just cut this out, then I'll show you how the fullness will be achieved on the hem of this jumpsuit. So I'm cutting this part as well, the straight line I marked for my waistline, okay? So this line is actually connecting to the bust line. This will help me to extend my This will help me to create the fullness I want for this jumpsuit. Okay. Please make sure you watch this video to the end, as I'm going to be sharing some tips on how to go about sewing this jumpsuit. Okay, so I've cut this to the bust point, and now I'm going to align the side that like so. So with my tape, my sticky tape, I'm going to just stick that point in place. So we'll just cut this on the fabric, and the fabric will be on fold. We'll use this pattern to cut both front and back. And you'll agree with me that this table will not be able to accommodate that if I'll have to show you in details how I cut it. So we'll just have to move to a wider space and cut this out. So my fabric is now placed on fold, and that's the pattern right on the fabric. So first we're going to be cutting out the back pattern before we now cut the front. So guys, that's how to cut the bottom. Okay, you just cut across the slanted part, or the part that will be spread out. You just cut across it, and it will create that fullness that we want. Then that's the shoulder line and the armhole. I've added 1 centimeter seam allowance. Then on the sides I've also added ½ inch. You can use 1 inch seam allowance or 1 centimeter, whichever works for you. So that's basically what I did here. You can see I've cut out the back pattern. So now to cut the front pattern, we need to eliminate the zipper allowance and the crotch extension. Okay, then we also need to cut out the armhole for the back pattern. You know that our red lines that we marked are for the front pattern, so we'll just cut out those back parts. We'll just cut through the red lines, okay, and this will just eliminate our zipper allowance. Then the neckline as well, we'll have to extend it at to the original point where we marked for our front pattern. So that's basically the difference between this and the front pattern. So we'll just do those alterations and then cut the front pattern. On the back pattern, I measured 11 inches from the nape of the shoulder line towards the waistline and cut that out. So that's what you're seeing here, and I'm going to be using this to replace with the back pattern. Okay, so I'm cutting black chiffon to attach to the back pattern. Then for the front panel, I cut out some bias strip, and I'll be using this on the neckline and armhole. So let's start sewing this down. The first thing I want to do is to join the two front panels. These are the front panels of this garment, and I'm going to be sewing along this line at the center front from the crotch extension. I'm going to sew it by 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way to the neckline. After joining the two center front panels, I've gone ahead to attach my bias strips on the armhole and the neckline. So you can see the piping I've done. Okay, so now we'll set this aside and work on the back pattern. On the back pattern as well, I've sewn the neckline of my black fabric and the armhole as well. So after sewing it, I turned it the other way around. So I turned it inside out and gave it a good press. Once you've attached the yoke to the back patterns, it's time to sew your zipper. So you can just add your invisible zipper at this point. Then it goes and stops somewhere around here. Then you now run your straight stitch to close up the crotch extension. Okay. So that's the back panel. Okay, I'll close it up to the crotch extension, as you can see. So the next thing to do now is to align the front and the back panels on the shoulder. So that's the front panel, and on our back panel we place them, then align the shoulders, okay, like so, and sew them up. Okay, but we're not just going to place it like this to sew. We're going to pass through the zipper allowance that we created. So we're passing through this side where the zipper goes, and we're going to align that the shoulder point and sew from the inside. So the next thing to do now is to sew up the inseam, which is from the hem to the crotch, then to the other side of the bottom. We'll now sew the sides. Okay, that's the side seam of our garment. Then we'll hem. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please like and share this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel